Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. Let's free fall. Let's free
inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Break down. Break down.
I'm not crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss. Look who's starting it all off, it's Raven.
No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Peyton. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, what the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura, is he going to be able to find these shots true?
Inu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an animal, immediately comes back, like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2, 3, so back and forth.
We have moved on from the mid-season tournaments, and thus we must make our way to the second stage of competition here in CGL, and these teams hoping to start out with a bang, and it should be a pretty lively one. And hey, thank you all very much for joining us here today. I'm Hunter Tane, brought to you with OC today, and we got a matchup here between Saints, Girliepops, and TEC, and I'll see both of these teams kind of having a bit of a back and forth. We had the undefeated TEC coming in and getting knocked down in the semis. Meanwhile, Saints Girliepops, unfortunately not really getting the chance to even get into the midseason tournament. So both these teams kind of coming in today, really hoping for that big win.
Right, and I'm coming into the middle of the season here in CGL. I'm not too familiar with the teams yet, but that's fine. I will become very familiar very quick. And I want to see what both of these teams have to offer today. And it's always exciting. I mean, I always have players reach out to. They're excited to have me cast matches. It's pretty funny. But I'm just excited to see what we have today.
I mean, yeah, 100%, and obviously we have this match before us, but it's not the only match that's going to be going on today, because we do have a match later on tonight, the NA region at 8 o'clock p.m. EST between Misuchi Esports and Mental Institution. So, I mean, that should be a relatively good one as well. We want to have some really good games to start out the season, because we were used to some very close games in the mid-season, but something that's going to have to be yet to be seen. But what we will do is we'll take a minute to look at the standings right now, OC. And the big thing I noticed right again, TEC, they go 4-0. They managed to only drop that one map going into the midseason. They have a big win, but then they get knocked out by a very game Everfrog, who managed to beat back-to-back teams just to make it into that finals.
All right, yeah, TEC clearly in a really good position here, and Saints Girliepops 6th place, but I mean, I don't doubt that they can put up a fight here, even if they're a little lower in the standings. And I don't think it means too much at this point, right? It's week 5. It does matter a good bit, but we'll see in this match how competitive a match will actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a grand possibility, because Saints Girliepops, looking back at what they had done throughout their season, their 2 losses came at the beginning of the season, so they had back-to-back wins going into the midseason, so you kind of have that confidence to kind of go in with those wins, have a couple of weeks and not have to worry about playing a match even, and that can be kind of important to some teams where you kind of need that break to reset, especially when the meta kind of has gone around a little bit as it has, and even with the patch, it kind of feels like it's really solidified, but it's something that we're gonna have to really see. But one thing I do see is we got a couple of rosters to check out, OC.
All right, let's take a look.
All right, so first of all, Saints Girliepops can be brought into us. We have the DPS line, Nymphia and Honey over there. We have Hana Sophie on the tank, then Melody, Dragon Breath over on the support line. And again, a team that had a really good second half of that first stage, managed to go through, get back-to-back 3-0s. So again, you got to be feeling a little bit of confidence coming into this one, OC, but the biggest issue right now is they're running into a team that only had lost their very first matchup in the semis of the mid-season tournament, which it takes a lot of skill to go 5 matches straight without dropping anything more than 2 maps.
Yeah, that's impressive. Absolutely impressive, honestly. And we'll see, like, out of both of these teams, I think what matters the most is how effective they can run the Orisa compositions, how effective they are with the Brig Juno. That the consistency with that kind of composition, the new patch hasn't changed much, so we'll see it from both teams.
I mean, we 100% are going to be able to see it from both teams, because that's kind of what the bread and butter kind of has been for a lot of squads. It's not to say that's the only tank that kind of has to be played. We have seen teams before that really want to opt towards something like the Junker Queen. We've seen Doomfist teams. We've seen teams start to pull up the Zarya a little bit as well. There's kind of a lot of counterplay that still exists, but Orisa seems to be the one that teams are going with. And I don't think that's going to change super recently, because sometimes the meta is not just dictated by the patch notes, but it's dictated by what we see from pro play. and there's not a lot of pro play right now. We're on the other side of stage 4. We have Stockholm a whole month away. There's not a lot to really be seen that's going to kind of dictate that anything differently should be run here, but so one thing that does stay the same, it is that map pool for the week, because everything is going to be set in place. And we're going to start out things on Ilios here, which very dive-centric map. And in fact, starting things out with Hollywood as well, very dive-centric to start out this game.
Okay, yeah, Ilios and Hollywood, definitely 2 maps, like you said, dive-centric. Although I think Hollywood opens up the possibility for Orisa still. You need to play it right, though. Especially first point, you can really play for the Orisa. Ilios, though, especially the Korean teams, you saw it out of them. But also, even in NA, you're seeing it more EMEA. You're seeing a lot more Winston. The teams are kind of moving away from the Brawl compositions on those maps and really kind of committing to Winston on a brig as the primary. And then you kind of have Runes, which is the one outlier, right? Well and Lighthouse, they're both dive-centric. Runes, you can kind of do a lot of different things.
Yeah, there will still be that kind of bit of an expression for those teams when you get to Ruins. It just kind of opens up the hit scan as well. We've seen Ash be a very popular hero the last month or so, and something that really hasn't really been given a reason to not run it so far. So something we're going to have to see here, but beyond that, Throne of Anubis, Colosseo, maps that start to go back down that Brawl route, and then Dorado, obviously a very heavy dive map as well, and if needed, we could end up going to a 6 control map if absolutely needed, but we would have to have at least one tide to be able to do that. But either way, I think this is going to be great, because in this series, I think we're going to be able to see kind of 2 sides of these teams right now. One that obviously is going to be more dive-centric, but when we eventually get to that Throne of Anubis, and if we have to go to Colosseo, that's where we're really going to see that Orisa style come out. Or if teams are comfortable with something else, like we have seen other tanks before, I think we're really going to see that potentially early here in the series.
Yeah, and there's just so much more opportunity with this specific map pool for a lot of different compositions, rather than just the Orisa, rather than just the backline of Brig Juno, really. Again, like, not as many flat maps, so one of these teams is gonna have to take a dive map. One of them will have to take a dive map, whoever wins, right? So you have to win at least one of these, and you have to be proficient with it. Or do we see them try and force a Brawl composition of some sort? We could see either approach.
I mean, I think 100%, yeah, and it's something we're going to see pretty early from these squads as well, what they feel more comfortable running, because obviously as we're going to get things started out here, and I believe by this thing, we are going to be starting out on Well, which, again, very dive-centric. This is where we were likely going to see something like that Winston, but we might see if teams are just more comfortable trying to run the Orisa here, because it's not impossible. That left or right side, if you force on rotations, you could just set up that way, but as things are right now, it looks like we kind of have 2 different methods working right now.
Yeah, it looks like we do have a D.Va, potentially out of Saints Girliepops, and Orisa, like, more of a traditional Orisa composition from TEC. Both of them seem to be more Brawl-oriented, though. If Saints Girliepops stick with the Brig Juno, it's definitely, it has a dive feel to it, but that backline, they have to play for that Brig a little bit.
I mean, they 100% do, and obviously Honey going to be able to TP them out, likely going to head back over to the Echo, and things are going to get rolling here, and again, Hanasofi going to stay over on this D.Va, can be very efficient to play into Orisa, can stop all that damage, including that Javelin as well, so they'll be able to have a little bit of extra protection for their backline, but as things are, the most important thing to think of right now is Nymphia and Coughlin going to be in this Tracer 1v1. There's not going to be a whole lot that's going to be able to serve that.
Yeah, and also, I'm noticing straight away TEC are running BAP Juno rather than a Brig or something of that sort, so that's a bit of a weakness, right? That's a very diveable backline.
Yeah, it is, but you got to get in there, and Funky, unfortunately, going to go down. They kind of have that extra heal with the BAP still, even if it's getting pressured out, and it's just not going to pay off. DPS line able to clear things out. Hanasofi wants to make sure to stay in the mech, but most importantly, they get knocked out, and there's no reason to have to peek this, so this is going to be a good situation for TEC to walk back into.
Sophie's lost the mech, and she jumps right down the well, much like Seeker in Nightmare versus Toronto Defiant. And now Nymphia's also gone, so this might just be an immediate flip back for TEC, taking that for free. And I think that little mistake from Hanasofi made all the difference.
I think it 100% did. And now you have to take that reset here. The bright side is that you managed to work up to 60% of that ultimate. The bomb is not the most useful ult in the world, but if there's anything it can do, it is deny and take away space. But as things are, again, Nymphia, Coughlin going at each other, both 80% and counting right now to that post bomb. So trying to get this fight going right now as they're trying to spread out, trying to take some angles away, try to find a couple of shots in here. But as things are right now, they're kind of just holding this left ground, and time is like slowly burning away as Melody already going to be taken out. And with Hana going down, Hana Sophie realizes the rest of the squad needs to get out of here. And unfortunately, that's the situation, is that they kind of have this comp that is able to play a little faster. They need to eventually be taking the aggression towards them.
Right, I kind of agree. I think the solution here for Saints Girliepops is to take fights fast. They could even, like, run a Sombra, to be honest, instead of the Echo, and just really, really go after this Baptiste. Here, Ackerman will have the window, though. So there is a level of protection. Coughlin is just going off on this backline, though.
Yeah, getting these going 60% already, by the way. You want to make sure no one gets taken out here as well, especially Hana Sophie. You don't want to get them knocked out of the mech. As we'll see a Deadeye. It's going to stick, though. They're going to stay alive momentarily, but actually Hana going to take them out of there. And now it's a 5v4. They're going to wait for this end matrix to go away. And they should be able to push full force after the fact now, because now you no longer have that opportunity to work with your hit scan. But again, they're taking it a little bit slow here, but we're going to see it come out, try to see if you can find something with the rockets here. But again, it feels like they're all not all looking at the same target. We're to see eventually a couple of being used away here. It's not going to pay off, as eventually Funky should be eliminated. But the thing is as well, this fight took forever, OC, so they're going to have 90 plus going into that. But like, at least for Girliepops, they hold on to some ultimates, but you know,
oh, that is not good. And you know, Frag is coming back with this orbital, and we're gonna see orbitals traded from both teams. Where's this orbital going for Saints Girliepops? It's just in the middle of nowhere. It's gone. There's no value out of that. This is up to Melody now with the rally. I mean, Frag is still holding on to the orbital.
And now Fred just gets to use it. They just get to go in with it, try to drill someone away. If not, you've separated everybody. You force out the rally, you force out the bomb. Hana Sophie doesn't even get the remake as well, so now there's not going to really be anything left to hold on to this point. And with 95% and counting, it's just down to 2 to potentially try to touch this point, try to force it overtime. You see them going for the touch. It will activate the overtime right now, but Melody taken out. Gonna see if Hana can force another. They're gonna be able to do so, which means you might get someone back in time, but it's just going to slowly slip away from you right now. Hana's only going to be able to kind of hang around the point for so long here. A Deadeye going to be used here. Pulse Bomb, I mean, just doubling down on everything just to clear things out at this point. You can't blame TEC at this point, because they're just clearing it all away.
Saints Girliepops, they're on the juicy. Oh, Melody gets the boop on the Coughlin, but I'm not sure if it's going to matter. Melody, she's fallen quite low. The only one left here for Girliepops, and they will fall, and that'll be 41 to 100 in favor of TEC for this first round. And I think the definitive moment there at the end was the orbital that just wasn't on target. I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
I mean, it could have just been like, because obviously when you use it, you want to make sure you're facing the direction you want it to go. They could have been kind of flicking away at the time and accidentally sent it over that direction. That's always a possibility. I think people forget how fast it moves sometimes, because it can go very quickly, very soon. But either way, here's the thing for Saints Girliepops. They do a fine job in a lot of these fights. They're able to. The problem is that the fights that they ended up winning, they would lose somebody at the very end of the fight, and it'd always be somebody very significant to where they couldn't actually hold the fight with that, hold a point with that much efficiency.
Yeah, and these longer fights, they tend to lose someone near the end, and that is problematic.
100% is, but second round online, got a little bit more hit scan orientation here. Nymphia gonna be over on the Widowmaker, but Coughlin is gonna stay over on that Tracer, so now it's gonna be more so a situation of Coughlin kind of hanging around with Funky, or maybe trying to help out the backline, because you do still have Hana, who's taking over with a Tracer slot as well, so we have to see how things are working right now. But as things are right now, Ackerman creating a little trouble for Hana Sophie, gonna take them out of the mech and take them back to the spawn as well, so no tank to your name. Already gonna have to give up this point back out, and again, it just feels like a situation where they're getting caught out more easily, where they're just not willing to take that extra aggression, because at least if you dive and go in together, at least you tried to done something during the fight.
Yeah, and here we see Hana go over to the Genji, and I do like that. The Genji is a little more effective, direct pressure onto that Baptiste, onto that Cassidy. Very, very effective into Orisa compositions in particular. That's why we see it at the highest level of play. And now we see this initial engage with the D.Va. Can they get any value?
I mean, yeah, 100%, and obviously going into this fight as well, Nymphia already getting taken out here. And now, if you're Hana right now, the problem is it feels like Hana Sophie is kind of alone in this situation, kind of just holding it down. Now they're going to get knocked on the mech. and they're going to take them out because they don't need the stagger. They're confident they're going to be able to hold on strong, and you can't exactly blame them for having that mindset.
TEC, they seem a little unbothered by these dives, and Coughlin goes for the pulse, doesn't land it. It's okay. Ackerman has the window now. TEC are feeling pretty comfortable. They also have the orbital, so it's going to be very difficult to win a longer fight for Girliepops, especially with this D.Va composition. They're kind of stuck in an awkward position where they need to play for ultimates and maybe just need to kite. They need to bait an ultimate kite, live.
Yeah, the problem is that it's not a full-on dive comp, it's not a full-on brawl comp, it's not a full-on poke comp, it's a hybrid, and hybrids can be good as Johannes is going to get taken down to start out this fight. So, biggest opportunity for our Girliepops so far within this map, hoping to take this one away, but Melody's away, and right now you see just Hanasov is just standing on the point right now. They're trying to take it over, they eventually will, but now they're in a 4v4, they're all going to be taken out, and now this is where you begin to question a little bit the ideology of that. They focus on the point more than the fight itself, and now, I mean, honestly, I know I'm a broken record at this point, but now they're going to instantly lose the point right away, only get about 14 or 15% here.
Yeah, these longer fights, again, like I said, TEC will have the advantage. The BAP Juno in particular, oh my goodness. The BAP Juno in particular does just excel in longer fights. They need to end these fights quickly. They need to shut down the Baptiste quickly and the Cassidy. So here, I mean, with this Blade, with this Kitsune, they need to take this fast.
They have to, and the biggest thing you want to do, you want to pressure Ackerman like right at this moment if you can. You want to force them to use that immortality somehow. But we're gonna see it go through right now. Honey already gonna get rid of one, and now the focus is gonna be turned on to Funky here as they're using every cooldown to try to survive, pumping everything into them. But they are still standing. Most importantly, right now, Stick is gonna come through though. Not gonna end up using their gold form either. Gonna try to sustain through it without it. And now on the point right now is Funky. Ackerman still staying alive best they can, but eventually will be taken out by this DPS line. And Funky also doing a great job of keeping this going right now, keeping things alive. Eventually they are going to be drilled away here. We're to see Saints Girliepops be able to finally take away a fight without losing a lot of people. So this is their one big chance for stabilization.
Yeah, and I like this, again, another adaptation for Girliepops. They're trying to figure out how to play this. They're on Lucio Kiriko now, and that's honestly fine. That's pretty effective. And here they have like kind of a three-man dive. They have Tracer, Genji, and Lucio that can go after this Cassidy, go after this Juno or Baptiste. And, you know, now all you have to worry about is really this Juno ultimate from Frag and maybe the window from Ackerman. But that Juno ultimate in particular is the key in the long term for TEC.
Yeah, it's a situation where if Saints Girliepops wanted to play up a little bit here and try to bait it out, unfortunately, that's not the kind of baiting I'm always hoping for. So, already going to be away. Immortality Field going to be taken out at the very least. Now there's a window. Hanasov is pressed into a corner. Dragon Breath doing their best to try to keep them up. Unfortunately, it's not going to have any value. And now, perhaps just a little bit of a victory orbital right here. Everybody's trying to go on the point, trying to solve things out. A beat going to be expended here with the three members onto the point right now, so the fight's still going on. Still a possibility to pull it back as Frag does get taken care of, but you're not able to hold on to the point, so down to the 99 right now. Hanai doing their best to pull this one back, but Funky just is having none of it right now, and eventually sending one on the point. Hanasobi gonna get back, but no ult to the name. Funky likely just gonna press this down any moment just to clear things away. Not like anybody's gonna make this back either, so TEC gonna be able to take this 2 rounds to 0 and pretty confident to start things out here. I mean, this team very much knows how they want to play their game, and for Girliepops, unfortunately, it felt like they never stuck to one true identity throughout this map.
Yeah, and I think their adaptations, their ideas were good, but the execution was a little flawed with each composition. I think the D.Va was generally a difficult way to approach the map, so the Orisa and that kind of approach was a good idea, but after that, you know, it was just a little awkward at times. One funny part at the end of that map, though, is Ackerman just does not care. I mean, you have the Genji coming at you. Nope, I'm just going to get rid of you. And the Pulse Bomb, oh, nope, I'm just going to MO that. And then I'm okay. And we've used up both of the opposing DPS cooldowns there. And it's just like, oh, okay, we're fine. Now, I will say, at the end of that fight, you know, Melody almost turned that with the beat. That beat was really good. That was a better beat, like right after the Juno ultimate. And you know, that almost allowed them to turn that, but they were just at too much of a disadvantage and, you know, getting picked early in that fight. I think that made it difficult, but still, like, they had a chance at taking that fight. That was a good fight. Was very impressive.
I mean, it was. That might have been their kind of best fight going into things as well. And to be fair, I think it honestly could have happened if that didn't happen right there, with Nymphia getting caught out by that Javelin by Funky. Unfortunate situation for them, but at the very least, remember, it is first to 3 right now. You kind of take this first map, you take a little bit of a breath, knowing you're going to be able to help turn things around. And the bright side for them here, as we'll get to our next map momentarily, is that they're probably not going to have to run into the same thing as well, because, again, these first couple maps are very dive-oriented. They didn't even get to the most dive-oriented sub-point of Ilios in the first place, so a little bit of unluckiness there, but at the same time, they're going to have an opportunity to pop back. And at that point, how do you adjust if you're TEC? You've done a lot of confident things with this Orisa composition. It's not the best thing going into our next map, which will be Hollywood, so the question is, what do you think that adaptation is going to be like for them?
I really think they just need to play a good first point. They need to play a good first point, particularly on their defense. If they can do that, I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be fine. Generally, taking and defending the first point, and even the third point, is relatively simple on the Orisa composition. And, you know, if you get the macro right, you'll be okay. But that second point is always going to be a little problematic. And that was something, you know, even I was actually, you know, head coach for Quick Esports during the last Orisa meta, the last major one. And I remember Hollywood was part of the map pool back then in, you know, OWCS. And that was one map we scrimmed very often. Like, we would have to, like, send our Orisa on a flank and then have our, like, Ashe, like, take the opposite elevator. So you kind of, like, take both high grounds at once. And it's like, I love the strategy behind it, but it's hard. So you can't expect most teams to totally nail that down. It is difficult. So that second point will be the challenge here for TEC.
I think 100%. And for Saints Girliepops in this situation, I think they're probably still going to try to stick to some level of dive here. But one thing I'd really like to see them is for a dive that can kind of just go all out. One where it doesn't feel like it's kind of a half and half right now, because in this situation, you either need to dive really hard or you need to poke really hard. And that's something that TEC is going to be able to do, is poke very hard if they stick with this Orisa composition. So it's something we're going to have to see here going into this, as that's the one thing I'm hoping from Saints Girliepops, is that they just have one identity as a T composition going into this fight, especially since TEC is going to be able to decide what side they want to be on. More normally, teams will opt to go on the defense first and foremost, but it's something we're going to have to see. They're still kind of sitting in the attacker side right now, so it's something we're going to have to kind of wait and see. But while we're kind of waiting a moment, I'm going to ask you, I want you to, in a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like Hollywood?
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I really like the first point. I think the third point is, like, iffy for me. It's really hard to attack that last section of the third point. But Hollywood is a fun map. It's an interesting map. I think it gives you opportunities to play different compositions depending on the point. But also that makes it a little annoying because second point is so drastically different from the first that sometimes in some metas, it's better just to run a brawl composition on first and then immediately swap no matter what ults you have for second, which can feel really bad because you don't want to do that. You don't want to give up all those ultimates, but then you just lose every fight by default on second. So that makes it a little difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same place with like Iconwald, where like a lot of teams might opt for something a little more dive or poke related on the second point, and then the third point, it's very much a brawl section, and you almost see teams just instantly go for the swap afterwards. But likely not going to see anything too much of that here outside of that third point. Maybe teams opt to kind of double down on the Orisa when we get there, but it's something we're going to have to see. But one thing we do know, PvP Boss going to come in, swapping in today, going to take over on the side of TEC, and the question becomes, what could the swap be for? I mean, you would think maybe for a harder hit scan player to kind of come in, but as things are, TEC are opting to start on the attack, which again, OC, not usually the preferred method of a lot of teams here to try to purposely start on the attack.
I'm already smiling at this composition from Saints Girliepops. This is the definition, like the embodiment of putting all of your skill points into one thing, and that is ranged damage, and then you just have Hana Sophie who just has to exist in this composition. I mean, as long as Hana Sophie doesn't like feed, all you really do is you just play off of the double hit scan LOS and the Zen, and really this just forces TEC to play carefully. They can't play super fast, but you know, they have to make effective rotations. You can get punished from rotations easily here.
Yeah, I want to see how TEC tries to rotate this. A lot of teams will opt to go for this left side high ground and kind of force off the high ground. Just kind of try to take Hani and Hana Sophie off of it, kind of take advantage there. But for the time being, they're hanging around as Ackerman nearly losing their head in that situation. But it's going to progress a little bit slowly in the situation. We're going to see the rotation already coming through here. Funky already taking over the high ground. Going to give it up very quickly though, as Melody's kind of playing a little back and forth right now, as they're just getting run down on the backline for free. Melody is gone, and I'm not sure how this wasn't called out, or they didn't see this coming, and unfortunately now they're boxed into a room. They're gonna get slowly pushed out, and OC, maybe perhaps some miscom there. It seemed like nobody had a clue Funky was there until it was too late.
Yeah, that was pretty much textbook, right? That play was textbook. What they did is they see Hane on the high ground. They're like, okay, we're gonna send just our Orisa up there. Our Orisa's gonna clear the Soj, and then the Soj goes back to Cafe. Now all of Girliepops are inside of Cafe. After that, all they need to do is rush in there, and they have the better brawl. They really do have the better brawl. So, you know, Girliepops, once their angles are gone, they're useless on this double hit scan.
Yeah, 100%. And now, right side is probably going to be your strongest of the 3 points here, realistically. You're able to have Nymphia and Honey kind of go up and down the high ground, especially Nymphia over on that Ashe. But, importantly, you need to be starting out these fights with picks right now. We've had a situation a lot where TEC managed to find the first pick in a lot of these fights. But the one thing they need to do is just create a lot of pressure. As Nymphia already going to get caught out here. And now OCSCs are trading back and forth. This is still kind of going to play into the hands of TEC because, unfortunately, Coughlin is going to get back a lot faster than Nymphia.
Yeah, and we see now Funky looking to clear this high ground, continuing to push, spears out. We're going to see a Juno ultimate out from Frag, but I don't think it's entirely necessary. Hanasofi lost the mech here. Okay.
Oh, drops into it!
All right. Okay.
Hey, you know what? You take those. Nymphia does manage to find Frag, though. So the cart is still steadily moving along. That's the one thing we have to note is throughout all this, it has now gotten around this corridor, coming up to the county jail now. So as things are, they're doing fine. But if there's a big push out from Saints Girliepops, they might have to back up if Funky doesn't come back in time, which we will see momentarily.
This pulse could be pretty important here. There is nothing to... Oh, ooh. Wow, okay, Melody.
Okay, Melody, we see you. That's what we like to see here, but... fight's still going on, though. We still have 5v4 right now. TEC, you can see right now, they're not taking a whole lot of aggression. They're just taking their angles or keeping over the side ground, because the thing is that Saints Girliepops, they don't have a... I'll be surprised if this bomb gets anybody. But, fortunately, not going to find the value you'd hope for. But you can see right now is they're not being super aggressive, OC, either. They're kind of holding their angles as eventually lose out on Ackerman. A Deadeye going to be used here, and now it feels like they're just using ults for fun.
Now finally putting a bit of pressure into Melody. She's going to fall, and... Saints Girliepops are going to have to back up, and it might be a bit of a rushed recontest, but they should have Melody for the Transcendence at least, or Nymphia for the Bob, so, you know, they aren't in a terrible position. Ackerman might just use the window here to burn the Bob. That is a possibility. We'll see how Ackerman uses this for TEC.
Yep. Well, we'll see Hanasofi kind of pressure the high ground away right now. Try to bring some pressure to the PvP boss, who is sitting very low right now. Is going to get hindered out, playing a little bit of hopscotch, but they have to get to the point. That is definitely a certified scene right 9 right there. Unfortunate scenario, and the Bob is right there too. I mean, and the pause directly afterwards. I mean, that's not the way you want to lose a fight right there, especially when you had the Bob, you found the early pick, you had the Transcendence even as well, so you had the possibility to kind of stay on the point with your Zenyatta, and that's just that's unfortunate. I don't know if there's a better way to put it than that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what exactly happened. I would assume that Funky pushed the Bob off of point with the javelin spin, and then we had Girliepops trusting the Bob to contest, and Melody comes back to save Hanasofi and keep the mech, right, with the Transcendence, and that's when the C9 occurred. So I can't blame them too much. I think it was like they did have a plan there. They did have a plan there. It wasn't completely uncoordinated, I guess, but you do have to account for the fact that you can move Bob.
Yeah, you can. The thing I noticed, though, is like we were watching Hanasofi's POV going into that. That Bob was very much on that card as well. It might have been a situation where they just threw it too late, potentially, because we kind of see the kill feed from our side of things, so you can see that pick onto Funky, and that's very much after the point. So maybe that's just a situation of actually, you know what? You could still be right, because technically when you do the spin as the Orisa onto a Bob, it doesn't stop the Bob stationary. It will still keep trying to move forward and move forward. So, okay, well, hey, possibility. But either way, a little devastating. You've invested ults into a fight. Now you're in a situation where you have a disconnection, so you have to take a reset, and there's 4.5 minutes on that clock. TEC, I mean, just sitting in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, already thinking about the next fight, we see, you know, both teams from right before the pause where Like 60-50% to orbital on average for both teams. Saints, Girliepop a little behind. I think it really is going to be a race to orbital for both teams. And, you know, that's the most important ultimate going in. And Funky's close to the Terra Surge as well. So from TEC, we could see them just farm the orbital, maybe get it a little earlier, and then go for the Terra Surge, a very aggressive Terra Surge. That is an option for them. What I'm interested to see from Saints Girliepops is, you know, they're on the 3rd point now. The Diva all of a sudden is going to get a lot harder. Are they going to stick with this?
I would think the answer is no, in a couple of reasons. One, because you're also not going to get a whole lot of value, and you're not even close to it. You're at 45%. You're not going to get that during this next fight, realistically. Secondly, the Orisa is just way better in this kind of scenario. You're able actually to play a corner with a little bit more ease in that situation. And honestly, it would just be in the best interest to make that swap pretty much now while you take the reset, because eventually they are still on the point. The fight technically is kind of over with Saints Girliepop taking it away, so they are still likely going to try to play a fight with this composition because they don't really have a choice. But one thing we do know, we're going to get back into things here. We get our Honey back into the server, but as things are right now, you already see them kind of backing out, going to clear things away, and now very likely going to pull back a bit and try to play for this first corner.
Yeah, and it looks like they're not going back to spawn to swap, which is a little surprising. Going to stick with the double hit scan as well, which is also very surprising. Again, it's just, it's greedy in the sense that, you know, you're just putting way too much into one ability, which is range damage.
And it's not the fact that it's a bad idea to have range damage, it's just the fact that it's not the best thing for this point in particular. You're not going to have somebody that's constantly going to be able to sit on a sightline unabated. That's kind of the issue right now. But as things are, you're going to see Nymphia getting a bit of pressure away right now, constantly trying to deliver something. Literally is going to run across and try to solo them, and they will. So now a 4v4 online right now. As Funky is super low, they can drill them away. And now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ossie, it feels like mainly Funky's trying to go for the kind of the solos on this, on their Terra Surges.
Yeah, I mean, really all that Funky has been doing so far this Hollywood is just, okay, I see a hit scan, clear, 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 clear. We have a bit of space, we move up, and I think the only mistake there was Funky went too early. You should play for Frag's orbital, build that up, and then once you have the orbital, you can kind of support a more aggressive push like that.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Obviously, we got to get back going once again. 3 minutes on the clock. Bob going to be used just honestly just to make some space, which honestly you're completely fine with that. You don't find much ult use out of it anyway, but now we're going to see this data. Remember, it does get an extra speed to it as the ultimate still goes on. It's likely not going to catch on to anybody, but the important thing, OC, is it forced them out of that, so now you're able to play this finite corridor and really force them to get out in the open if they want to take fights.
Girliepops, they don't have an orbital at all. They have nothing to respond to this. Here's the push from Funky. Oh, what a javelin there as well. I mean, Melody's trying to respond to this, but Ackerman has the window after this. You have to keep that in mind. Oh, nice shot.
Yep, Honey's going to make the one person that needs to stay alive here right now, because if they want to take a big fight back here, it's very possible. And even with Melody going down, I think the fight kind of has come to its end in its own way. This 3v3 is going to favor a little more towards Saint. Girliepops, as long as you don't lose Hane right now, who looks like they will be able to stabilize. So now TEC gone from 4.5 minutes down to 2 minutes, halfway there. Saints Girliepop not doing a bad job of holding this down this corridor.
Yeah, Saints Girliepop, all they need to do is just play this slow and play responsive here. They don't need to play first at all. We might see Funky actually take this high ground. I wouldn't be surprised to see Funky clear the high and then just like move forward from there. We'll see, but Coughlin is going on a flank.
I mean, they're just keeping the aggression straight forward. They're going to throw the Bob in there as well from Nymphia. In fact, they're going to go with double DPS ultimates. They need to definitely find some picks here, because if they don't, this is just going to be a complete waste right now. You see Ackerman caught with 1, caught with 2. Terrasers using the background. Funky going to die, but not before getting rid of Hana Sophie. So now, you've lost your tank. You've lost your advantage here. You don't have any ult to throw back into this. The biggest thing you can do is keep Dragon Breath alive. But right now, if you're Hana, you need to find that pick onto Ackerman, which they 100% will. And Coughlin is now debating whether or not to use the Bob. And it looks like they're going to hold off just for a moment.
Hane's late fight rails are almost single-handedly allowing Girliepops to hold on here. Nymphia killing the Coughlin, and it looks like this is just a bit of cleanup here. Coughlin has the Bob to start next fight, and I think what I want you to pay attention to is Dragon Breath has the orbital for Girliepops, and that's really, really, really important, right? So Girliepops are ahead. If they want to take a fight first, they actually can, but it is kind of difficult to do that with the Zen version as composition, just because it's hard to advance with Zen. So they might just play responsive, but we'll see.
Yep. Most importantly to note as well, we are down to under a minute, which means even if TEC were to cap now, Girliepops, they would still need to just finish the map, and they would have the opportunity to play extra rounds. But obviously, you want to focus on not just holding, not just forcing overtime. You want to be able to take this away and be able to stop them right here and now. You see Nymphia kind of hang around in the back line, trying to deliver a bit of damage right now as a Transcendence and that Orbital Ray going to be used together right now, see if you can find some value off of it. But that Bob right now doing a great job of kind of creating a lot of space, but Funky unfortunately going to drop down, so now 25%. They have to make the choice whether or not to invest here, but it looks like they're going to hold off on it. And 20%, any late kills are going to be terrifying, especially if Coughlin manages to go down here. PvP trying to, and now touching the point becomes slightly questionable here.
Pretty much just what I thought there. Frag just had the orbital a little late. Now they can come back, but I'm not sure if Coughlin will even be able to touch. Actually, Funky should be able to get it, so this orbital might get some value. So, you know, expect an actual somewhat competitive fight here because of the ultimates for TEC.
Yep, right now, Hane is going to come up big in this fight. Either that, or you're going to find a Pulse Bomb and try to get onto somebody of great importance right now. Like Ackerman, you're going to lose out on that window now. You're going to lose Nymphia, but now it's down to a 4v3 right now. Coughlin managing to find one. PvP going to be taken out here. And remember, these spawns are going to be way, way closer as Hana Sophie, all they have to do is just survive a little while longer. Try to get somebody out on this point. Nymphia is going to be coming back soon. Melody and Dragon's Breath not going to be too far away, but if you're Nymphia, you are the first touch on this point. 4 meters, it's going to come through. The stick comes through. This Terror Surge going to be used, and now you have to try to make it under. Unfortunately, you can't quite get there in time. Big play from Funky to pretty much instantly delete Nymphia in that situation. They will take it in overtime. That's just beautiful. My goodness.
Yeah, TEC managed to come through. They just had really, really good ultimates going into that last fight and were able to get back to contest. I think otherwise, like, it would have been a lot more difficult. Now, you have defense, right? And again, it seems like so far, the D.Va hasn't been great. It hasn't been super, super effective for Girliepops, but they were able to kind of hold on that third point, which was interesting for sure. Now, I'm thinking for this first point, you know, can TEC hold it effectively? Because, you know, if you go to second point, then Girliepops, the D.Va becomes a lot better, a lot stronger in that matchup. But, you know, like I said before, defense matters a lot.
Yeah, it's going to matter a lot. And you kind of brought it before, that first point hold, or more so that first point attack in this situation. It'd be very important for Saints Girliepops, because the good thing for TEC is they were able to get a ton of time to work through that. If they didn't have as good of a first point, they probably do get held here at this third. They almost 100% do, but unfortunately not going to be the case for Saints Girliepops, as now you're hoping for a good start here. And if they bring Nymphia out on the Widow to start things out, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, to be honest, because at the very least, that's eventually going to cause the rest of TEC to kind of abandon this high ground and play on the left side high ground as well. I mean, just to kind of force Nymphia in, or kind of just force them to take a too aggressive angle.
Hey, here's the opening. We have on a Sophie starting on Orisa. Nymphia out on the Widowmaker. We have a bit, again, more of a double hit scan approach with the Zenyatta. A lot of just ranged pressure. On this first one, it isn't terrible, though, because the attackers do kind of get to define things, but here you have Coughlin coming in for something.
Yep, want to see if they can find a quick pick over there. Not quite going to happen, but Hana Sophie losing a lot of health, more than they probably should be with the Juno directly behind them, but as things are, you can see right now, constantly TEC is creating pressure. They're not giving Saints Girliepops the opportunity to really set things up, and it's shown right there as you are going to get rid of Nymphia already. And unfortunately for Hane, they're not going to be able to find anybody in this situation. And again, that's what I'm saying. TEC literally just does not want to give the opportunity, and they're going to clear things away. You're not going to lose anybody either, so that's a great start. And now, it becomes questionable what you do as Saints Girliepops, where again, TEC is just outpacing you in most of these fights.
I do not know how I feel about this this approach from Girliepops at all. I do not like the double hit scan on attack. Maybe the Widowmaker for like that kind of pressure, but at this point, you know, you really want a Genji or a Tracer just to initially kill the high ground or like have more control over the map. You're stuck just sitting on the ground in this choke here trying to force your way through with just damage, and as long as Funky doesn't overstep, I think you're fine.
I mean, that's 100% the case right now. You just don't want to play too aggressive right now if you're TEC or put yourself in too vulnerable a position. But right now, Melody purposely putting them in a spot because they kind of want to take the one-on-one with Coughlin, which I'll be honest, I don't blame Melody in the slightest in this situation. As point, gonna start going through a little bit of capture. Melody, unfortunately though, not gonna win the 1v1 that she was hoping for, as point not even gonna get a tick right now. The window going to be used here. Bit of an awkward position right now, but unfortunately not gonna quite matter here for Saints Girliepops. Pulse Bomb gonna come online, not gonna find anything. Doesn't quite need to though, as there are only 3 sitting in a corner right now. You figure eventually gonna get blown away here as they're separating a bit, but PvP boss does end up going down. Right now, if I'm Hanasofi, I would try to be going for this Mega Pack right now and trying to survive a little longer, but Coughlin gets themselves a 3K, and TEC, again, just stabilizing and just doing a dang good job of it, too.
Time for orbital trade and going into the next Ackerman. Early pick of the Hane, so Girliepops just need to wait even longer, and I feel like TEC have also caught on to Melody's approach of just sitting in the corner. Okay. Coughlin playing with fire there, but you know, TEC just buying more and more time. We only get really 2 more good fights for Girliepops.
Yeah, and you can see right now, kind of Melody really trying to be the 3rd DPS right now over on the Zenyatta, and now Hane has done a lot of work thus far in the series. When it comes to this, they're going to manage to get rid of one, need to find a second if they really want to find the value worthwhile right now. Spunky is going to go with the Terror Surge. Rub Spot right now does have mortality to keep them alive briefly, so now it's down to a 4v4. You see the first tick come through, but Coughlin has now gotten rid of 2 right now. Frag eventually going to be taken down, but Funky still has all the support in the world of Akron right now, but looks like they're going to have to wait and very likely give up that second tick.
Yeah, they have to give ticks, but that's okay with them. I mean, Ackerman's coming back with a window here and looking for the Tracer, is able to find Hane, and TEC, I mean, they're holding on, but they don't really have any ultimates left.
They don't right now. Essentially, Pop, obviously, they are only going to really have this Terror Surge, but that might be all they need right now. If Hanasofi decides to just go in deep and push this line over here, it could work out, but they're in such a rough position. They're literally in the middle of everything. They might have to use this just to survive, but it looks like they will be able to stabilize right now. Pulse going to come online, not quite going to find anything as Melody's going to be able to stay up, and with Hane finding a 2K of their own, could eventually be calling curtains right now. Is a great recall at that last second to kind of pull things away here as Hane going to find a 3rd to be able to wrap things up, finally going to take it away, but let me tell you, OC, that is significantly less time than you would hope for.
All right, I've learned from that fight that Hane has absolutely no chill. Also has the overclock going in the next fight, so I would be a little terrified. TEC, their ult economy is not looking great, so Girliepops for now are feeling pretty comfortable. They've also mirrored the BAP Junos, so just kind of deciding to take the fight to them, take a bit of an equal fight, the only difference being the double hit scan rather than the Tracer. Coughlin not able to find anything with that, and looks like Girliepops are going to try and take things to high ground, although I think forcing point here might be the better option for the moment.
Yeah, because eventually the thing is you want Funky to drop down. It's inevitably what you want. When you do that, it makes taking this high ground much more easy for Hanasofi. But you gotta step off of it. You gotta step off of it. You gotta step off of it and back on it. You gotta step off and back on it. Yeah, and that fight is gonna be over with right now. The right side is you get rid of Coughlin, but it's not gonna take too long for Coughlin to get back. But same can be said for the rest of Sans Girliepops. Unfortunately, you lose Nymphia, so gotta take another bit of a reset there, and that is just unfortunately not knowing how the elevator works.
Yeah, Hanasofi gotta get elevator certified. So yeah, we have also a pretty aggressive window here from Ackerman that will get some value. A few simple picks, and now Hane. Okay, Hane has no chill. Hane has no chill.
Zero chill in the world. Ackerman kind of tried to have their shoe moment there for a moment. Didn't quite come to fruition as Coughlin going to be taken care of right now, and Nymphia also going to get rid of Funky as well. And a little bit of revenge perhaps for the solo ultimates from earlier right there. So now Girliepops going to be able to get a little bit of room working here. Only a minute on that clock, and they expended 3 ultimates to take away that fight. And now, I mean, broken record scenario. Frag is going to have the orbital ray. Dragon Breath will not.
Hane hit the most valuable pick physically possible in that fight. It was the Juno who had the orbital ray, but now you need to watch out for that, Frag. You know, you have the orbital. I think here, Girliepops need to play to kite it. They just have to bait it, get it out somehow, or just kill Frag again. I mean, those are your options, really.
This window might have been a little not great timing, but fight's still going on. Melody is taken care of, though. We're to see this being used, and at this point right now, you need to die if you're Sans Girliepops. You need to die or get out. You need to have enough time to take a reset, and it's especially important that Hanasofi manages to stay alive here.
Orbital advantage is unfortunately that powerful, and I think here, if you're Girliepops, you'd be lucky to get a contest. You don't have a Tracer. I think Hane needs to go over to Tracer or Sombra or something. There's the swap. Pulse is good there from Coughlin. Able to get out. Immortality was used. Nymphia's gone. No Bob. And that's it.
Not even going to get a retouch. That's why it's so important in these fights to be careful like when you end up going down, because if you realize that fight is over, you have to try to die or get out pretty much as quickly as you possibly can, or even in some scenarios, try to hide away a little bit. But either way, 2-0 in the series now. Going to put TEC on match point here. And again, we see little bright spots, especially from Hayu, who's doing a lot of work over here on the Sojourn. Opened up a lot of fights, even carried a couple of fights. You look back at that 3rd point defense, doing a lot of work for their team. It's unfortunately a situation where it feels like in every other aspect right now, GC is outplaying Saints Girliepops. They're out-rotating them. They're out-pressuring them. That's how it's felt in a majority of these fights thus far.
Yeah, I mean, Hane is honestly the sole reason why Girliepops were able to hold on to that third point for so long, and even break through at least that first choke on the second point, right? And I mean, it's been an incredible performance from them. Now, what I'm concerned about is Nymphia on the Ashe. I mean, you are seeing some value out of the Ashe, but it's not a lot, and I don't know if you can justify it over a pick like Genji or Tracer. I really don't know if you can, especially when you're running into a BAP Juno, which is a greedier backline that you can punish. You know, not taking advantage of that, I think, is not super worthwhile. It's too much of an overlap in the sense of like running the pokier style of play.
Yeah, and to kind of double down on that, the fact that Coughlin has been on the Tracer the entire time, there's so much value from just forcing a Tracer 1v1, because essentially you're forcing a situation where you are constantly going to have your Tracer on the eyes of Coughlin. You're constantly going to have somebody going after them, and that turns a lot of fights into a 4v4, which in that advantage, that's going to play more towards Girliepops than it is for TEC, because you have a situation where you don't have to necessarily worry 24/7 about Coughlin being in that backline, because you saw it constantly. They were delivering pressure to that backline at least half of these fights, and unfortunately, it really hasn't played into their hand as much as they would hope.
Yeah, Coughlin has really gone uncontested, especially that previous round where, you know, you're up against an Ashe, a Sojourn, and a Zenyatta. You're quite happy if you're a Tracer player. And we saw Coughlin basically like perma backline. And that's exactly where Coughlin should be. That's exactly where Coughlin should be. It's a good understanding of, oh, I don't really need to play like I normally do. I can just play hyper aggressive and really do whatever I want just off of recall. So, you know, seeing that and seeing the pressure that Coughlin can output, I think it's a bit of a mistake from Girliepops not to take advantage of a similar aspect for themselves. Because again, like BAP Juno is, you know, that is a backline as well that is, you know, pretty vulnerable. BAP Juno, Ashe, I mean, there's no Brigitte there. There's nothing in your way. And if you can if you can get them off of their comfortable composition, then that could provide you with an advantage.
I mean, it 100% could. It's something we're going to have to see here as well, because obviously we are on match point. But after this break, there is going to be one, perhaps more opportunity for Saints Girliepops to try to pull back this series. So make sure you stick around, because we have map 3 coming on the way. Already sitting here at match point, TEC having a couple of great maps in front of them here, hoping to clean things out, make it a clean 3-0, and get themselves a quick night here. But we have seen the fight back from Saints Girliepops. We have seen them come back in situations, really bring the fight in now. OC, this is going to be the last opportunity for them to be able to do so. In a situation where perhaps this might be one of the best case scenarios for them to bounce back into, because things are going to be very linear, very simple, and if there's a time they're going to be able to bring it back, it's going to be now.
Yeah, I'm just like worried because the D.Va here, they love the D.Va, it seems like.
Yeah.
They really prefer the D.Va. I don't know about the D.Va here. I don't know about the double hit scan here. I don't think you can get away with those. We've seen them pull out the Brig Juno to start them. So we know they can play Brig Juno. We know that they're capable of like running some more dynamic compositions. I just think here, we probably need to see a Genji or a Tracer. We probably need to see a hit scan alongside that. Just something that is more along the lines of, you know, meta compositions. I don't think you can escape it here. The optimal composition, I would say, personally, is Orisa, Brig Juno, Cass Genji.
Yeah. I mean, I almost 100% agree, and it's something we're hoping to see here with our third and potentially final map here, heading over to the Throne of Anubis, playing a little bit of Clash. And one thing I'll tell you, OC, there have been a lot of 3-1s that have happened so far within CGL this season. And it might not be much of a surprise that a lot of the ones in that 3-1 were specifically these maps right here, these clash between Hanaoka and Throne of Anubis, because it's kind of like back in the day, or maybe not even so far back in the day, maybe I'm just that old, where a lot of teams in series sometimes would opt to go to something like a Circuit Royale just because it's such a tonal shift. It's so entirely different from most of what's out there in the other maps.
Yeah, the Clash maps are awkward, the Clash maps are fast, and I feel like a lot of teams might avoid scrimming them because they don't like them. But of course you need to scrim them, you need to practice them, and you just need to play it like any other map, but I think it's very easy to kind of like fall out of your rhythm and really quickly get rolled. I think it's one of those maps where like you don't have a lot of time to think. One thing I found, like, even casting it, the color caster sometimes has no time to talk because a fight will happen and then the next fight will happen. So you think about that in terms of fight planning and ult tracking, they don't have much time.
No, they really don't. But we did see a couple of changes come through for Clash maps in general with the most recent patch here on Tuesday. It's nothing super significant, but the most important thing to note is that when you get to those final points, the A and the E, it's going to start really fast, and then it's going to get very slow as the ticks keep moving on. So you might see teams try to invest in that first tick just because it's so quickly, and you only have to realistically win the one fight. You might see them back off at that point. It just becomes really difficult to take that final tick because I believe it's like, I believe the speed is like, it's like 1.4 times slower, which is a significant amount of time, by the way. That is a long time to try to be holding onto a point where that spawn is essentially right in your face.
Yeah. For sure. I think, you know, that final point section, you really do just need to try and bait ultimates out of the defenders and, you know, get the most you can out of that, but it's hard to win that.
It can be very hard to win it, but something we're going to have to see here. Most important fights that are going on are going to be the ones in that middle point at C, where we're likely to see that multiple times depending on how the series is going to go down here, but these are going to open up, and, you know, we always come to the shot of that, and I always call it a dog. I don't know if it's necessarily a dog.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. So that's a great question. But here, so far, Orisa is the starter for both teams. I don't expect TEC to change their approach with the app Juno, but I would like to see Saints Girliepops try the Brig Juno again, like they did on the first map.
Yeah, honestly, I'll be that person here. I don't hate the Curie Juno. I don't hate it a whole lot, but one thing I am kind of seeing right now, Nymphia Honey can be running the Tracer and the Genji, which I don't think is necessarily bad here. You have that 1v1 for Coughlin. You're going to be able to be aggressive with Honey over on this Genji as well, so it could play in their favor, but neither of these teams are going to opt for that break.
I think that is fine because you can put so much pressure onto the Cassidy, onto Fred on the Juno. I mean, this is just going to be all aggression, and Girliepops need to play a fast fight.
Yeah, Melody can be caught out a little alone here. Does have that little bit of help from Dragon Breath to keep things going right now, but you can already see, is despite there being two Tracers, Nymphia is nowhere to be seen in that 1v1, and now TEC going to be clearing things away, hoping to stay very fast at first point, and they 100% will. And again, OC, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like the point of having two Tracers is so that you can try to combat Coughlin. It feels like that didn't happen at all that first fight.
Yeah, I mean, my thought on it, right, is that you might need to ignore Coughlin, actually, because, you know, you have the Genji Tracer, you're trying to play it really fast. What you should try and do is trade backlines because you have the better dive.
Yep. Coughlin, bit of a rough situation here. Doesn't really have any recall. Links are being slowly thrown away. They're sitting super low as Coughlin will eventually be found by Nymphia. That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for the overinvestment, unfortunately, to go away, and that's what you want right there. That's what we've been wanting to see right there. Pressure coming through. Ackerman is going to get rid of them. Funky is literally sitting at 1 health, though, being forced to back out. If they can keep them alive, though, a recontestation is not impossible here. In fact, it's very likely.
Yeah, they will be able to recontest, and we need to stay on the point, Hana Sophie. We need to stay on the point, just like the elevator. Just like the elevator.
Yep, Widow going to be thrown down right in their face, and Ackerman going to get deleted instantaneously, and now wrong side of the window you want to be on right now, but Coughlin going to throw out that Pulse Bomb with a dream, and it's going to get eaten away, unfortunately. Kind of thrown away here. Pulse Bomb on the other side going to be used as well, but the bright side right now is you take away this fight, you're going to force it to 1-1 right now, and very importantly, you are coming up to that Orbital Ray and Dragon combo, or Blade combo.
Yeah. I think here, Saints Girliepops have a major ultimate advantage. It's pretty significant. I mean, you have the Blade, you have the Terra Surge, you have the Juno Ultimate, you have the Kitsune. You should really just start, honestly, with the Juno Ultimate Blade. Maybe use the Kitsune if you want to, but if you can save that for next fight, that'd be really good for Girliepops.
100% winning again. We see in the background of Melly literally sitting at 1 right now. Again, just gets left for dead, and now you can't combo, and Hana's going to go for it anyway. He's going to manage to get rid of 1, hoping to find a second. Literally going on a wild goose chase right now, as eventually you're going to get rid of another. PvP boss going to go down. Nymphia following directly, though, and eventually it's not going to pay off. And you're going to best right now if you're Hana Sophie, and I don't hate it necessarily, but you're not getting, you're not going to get the value off of it. With those picks, I mean, with only 2 people on it right now, a recontestation is possible, and in fact, they are just going to double down, hoping to find something here. Seeing right now, it's just the supports trying to hold on for as long as they can. Unfortunately, it feels like that was used perhaps a little bit too early here, as this fight has been going on for way too long. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Melody was able to hold on with the Judo ultimate onto point. Now Frank is gone. And, you know, 1-by-1 T's here falling. It's just Funky left on point, but it looks like Girliepops have the advantage here. Now, I don't think a recontest, again, like, it could happen, although without Funky, I think it will be difficult. Coughlin has the pulse, though. If you can reopen here with a pulse, maybe you have a chance. But it looks like TEC are giving this. It looks like they're just going to play for the next point, and Saints Girliepops they're going to be in the lead here.
Yeah, this is the first thing to a lead that maybe Girliepops has had throughout the entire series here today, but 2-1 right now to get these going. PvP sitting super low, but will be able to escape. And ults right now, both these teams kind of going through the rotation, but the thing to know right now, both of these pulse bombs going to be online. Freg is going to be down early, which is devastating right now, and you're looking to find this right now. Both supports are now being taken out. That's exactly what we want to see here. Funky is gone. You do lose Melody. Again, Melody's kind of being like left out to the wolves every single fight, it feels like.
Yeah, Melody is, I think Melody just needs to keep track of this Tracer. If you're Saints Girliepops, maybe you even just, yeah, like you said, like, you could clear Tracer first and then go for backline. But also just, like, scouting the Tracer. Now you have PvP on the Venture, so too much pressure onto the cast. Swapping it over, that means more pressure on Melody, though, so I'm a little concerned.
I mean, to be fair, even the fact that Melody has kind of gone down hasn't really stopped the team from doing good still. The fact is that it's almost like in the situation where some teams that were on the Ana, kind of, or like even like the break back of the day, sometimes they'd be like almost the sacrificial lambs in a situation where you kind of want them to die, but so that you can push back with a little less oppression. But this is where things get very difficult here, OC, because even though it's 3-1 right now, you're just willing to see how much do we think Girliepops are going to be willing to invest in this situation where, well, now you're investing. Now you're going for it now. You're going to see it online. Going to try to find something here. Melody going to push through. Funky in a rough spot right now. But they get this extra heals right now from Ackerman, and it's going to be able to pay off a little bit. But they're going to spear them off the side, and now Hanasofi hoping to find something. The Devil Terrace is being used right now, and it's going to pay off for the side of Girliepops right now. They're fighting to try to get this first tick in. Even just getting a first tick here would be a massive accomplishment.
Trying to get a tick here. Can you get the ultimate out of Frag? It looks like they might be able to. I mean, they are holding on. There's the first tick.
First tick. And now you want, and now right here, if you're TEC, you're just getting up your ultimates. You're not using anything. You are forcing them to try to use something here to try to push you back right now. Hane gonna go down, and now eventually you're gonna go down. But you know what? If you're Saints Girliepops, you take that victory. You got out a couple of really good ultimates. You got the fourth tick, and now you just need to win one more fight potentially to keep yourself alive in the series.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm worried about here is Freg with the orbital advantage. I've talked about it before. It's sometimes just a fight win by default. You have PvP with the Tectonic Shock as well, so we just have to look out for that. And Girliepops, I mean, if they could just play to kite this, that could be pretty good.
Yeah, and even in that situation, it's almost like you almost want the orbital ray to come out this fight, because you don't want to have to worry about it when you potentially have to eventually go into that C point again. But already a lot of chaos in the background. Ackerman getting a lot of pressure right now. Let's see if it pays off or not, but you're going to trade out bodies right here, and unfortunately, Coughlin going to get rid of both of them, so that trade not going to pay off right now. We're not going to see a whole lot being used, but the bright side is, again, the orbital ray got used in this situation, which means Saints Girliepops are going to have that advantage going into this one, and when it comes to that Kusine rush, there's not a support ultimate to really stop it now.
Yeah, that was actually a bit of a waste of an orbital ray, in my opinion. The fight had really already been decided. And now you have Kitsune, you have Blade, you have Pulse. This is the fight that Girliepops need to win. This is their chance.
Yeah. I genuinely think this is their best chance, because the bright side is that Ackerman is sitting at 60% right now. You don't want to give them that field right now. You kind of let things hang around a little bit. Nymphia going to hit the stick. Immortality Field going to be used, and that's still a win in its own right now. But it's a rough situation right now. Coughlin has already gotten rid of Melody, and Melody hasn't been able to work up to a single thing so far. The Blade's coming through. It's swing, swung and away, but Coughlin is still finding everything that they're looking for. And this is worst case scenario for Saints Girliepops.
TEC just took a 1-3 ult trade and won that fight, and it didn't look difficult, and that's concerning. The last hope here for Girliepops is that they're just a little ahead. Melody's just a little ahead, 30% on the orbital. If they're able to use their orbital first, get that Terra Surge out as well, potentially, they could just win outright.
Okay, but the problem is that they have to live first and foremost, and as we've seen in terms of a track record, they have not been able to stay alive long in these fights. So the longer this fight goes on for someone like Saints Girliepops, the better it's going to be for them right now. Melody's currently sitting at 95%, and I think if you're all tracking properly, you know what's going on. The moment you have that, I think you just go and you hope for the best here in this situation, because you can see already it is going to be online here. Going to see the aggression, a nice spear going to be thrown on both sides right now, and now going to be thrown back into it. Gonna have to throw it back as well. Pulse Bomb going to be used here. Gonna be double down. Yes! You're gonna get rid of Funky, though. That's exactly what you wanted right now. Frag is sitting super low. You need to be able to try to get rid of them here. We see that dive in the back line. Gonna see if you can get rid of Ackerman. You're gonna be able to. You're trading out for it right now, and it's still a 3v3. And eventually, looks like we're gonna have a bit of a technical difficulty for a moment here. Buff fight is still going on, and Coughlin gets a 3K. And now, off the back of Coughlin, this might have just been taken away.
What? I don't know what just happened in that fight, to be perfectly honest, but that looked like it was going in Girliepop's favor. Melody's gone. Poor Lucio on point. It'll be Nymphia. Trying to go for a final contest. Has the Pulse Bomb. It will matter, though, and that'll be it.
That feels like such a thrown opportunity, unfortunately. You had a great opportunity in the fight before. I think perhaps, it might be able to say, perhaps there was too much aggression that came out in that second to last fight. You had the ult advantage in your hand, and you tried to go too fast. And in that situation, it's fine if you want to go fast. That's what we wanted from them throughout the entire series. Just, it's unfortunately one of those situations where I felt like you would have had a little bit more efficiency if you let the fight kind of go into more close space a little bit more. You get more value out of that blade. You try to work up more towards your orbital ray. And unfortunately, it feels like they never really tried to, like, hard to miss in that combo except for, like, one time. And guess what? The one time they did it, it ended up working. And honestly, this is kind of just the story of TEC, again, just knowing how they want to pace their fights right now, because Girliepops felt like they were either too fast or way too slow.
Yeah, and, Girliepops also, it felt like, they either had to run the Tracer Genji and try to play super, 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 super fast, or they had to play, like, very, very slow and, like, more like Pokey with the Zen Ash Sojourn. They didn't really have a good in-between, which is a little concerning for consistency, and also, certain maps where, just more consistent compositions will be rewarded.
Yeah. And I mean, you had this great start, too. You managed to go out 4-0 as well. You're going to end up losing this last fight, or that next fight afterwards anyway, but that's entirely fine. You don't need to win that fight. You just need to force out ultimates. But, unfortunately, back to the drawing board, Saints Girliepops. Gonna have to take that reset for the week here, but TEC gonna remain undefeated in the regular season still. Gonna move them up. I believe that technically puts them up to 6-0, if I'm not quite mistaken here. So, doing good for themselves so far. Just trying to solidify themselves in one of those top spots going into the playoffs. And right now for TEC, getting the playoffs isn't even a question anymore. It's the question of how high can they get that seeding. But Saints Girliepops, it is starting to become a question of whether or not they're going to be able to make it into a good spot or not.
Yeah, TEC, they have one weakness, really, that I've noticed, and that's just a compositional weakness at the end of the day. It is, can your Baptiste live on his own and be self-sufficient enough not to fall to a Genji or a Tracer, especially against the more traditional meta compositions that'll be running like a hit scan on top of a Genji or something that will be putting pressure onto the backline or onto the Cassidy or so on. Normally the composition that's run is Brig Juno. It was kind of nerfed, though. The Brig was nerfed a little bit. So I guess there is a little more room for adjustments to the composition. But still, I do see that as a weakness. And I do see more teams, if you're going up against them, maybe try to take advantage of that, right? I can't expect that.
I mean, yeah, 100%. But hopefully we get to see a little bit more out of both these teams throughout the rest of the season. TEC got some things to clean up. But most importantly, they come away with a big 3-0 to start out the second stage, keeping themselves confident, keeping themselves ready. But either way here, day's not quite done yet here, because we are going to have an interview set up for you here in a couple of minutes, but we are going to cut to a quick break to get everything set up, so make sure you don't delay, because it should be a pretty fun interview.
Inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful to say.
I'm not crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here after our break, our 3-0 win here for TEC, going over Sans Girliepops. And here to join us here for a quick interview. You saw them in game as PvP boss, but they come in here today joining us as you know. First and foremost, congratulations on a good win to start out the second stage.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I can already say it was a great match from both sides. I think we can agree on that. I'm happy to be here now in the interview.
Yeah, but obviously going to this one, we kind of look back at the mid-season tournament. You guys unfortunately getting knocked out in that semi-final match there to Eberfrog. At least for you and maybe for the rest of the team, what was kind of the mentality going like into the second half of the season?
The mentality, just to be up straight, it was just to have a general improvement of not only our team composition, but also our team chemistry. It is just a thing we really try to work around, and I think tournaments like these and like starting with a refreshed mindset is what makes great players, and I think we kind of just try to stick with that.
Now I have a question for you.
Yes.
What in that final map, right? Were you caught a little off guard by the Genji Tracer and your adaptations like the Venture? How did you feel kind of in the middle of that map, trying to make those adaptations, trying to respond to that?
The Genji Tracer pick, the Genji pick was kind of surprising, to be honest. They really did manage to get our backline, especially our Baptiste, out of the game very easily, and I thought to peel my backline a little bit more and have just a little bit more of pressure, I decided to go Venture and to kind of counteract that, and as well as the fact that I just got the feeling I didn't have much value on Cassidy or I don't know if I played Sojourn during the last map, but I just felt I didn't have much value, so I just decided to switch up.
No, I mean it makes an entire amount of sense here, but obviously we talked about how the midseason went, the fact that as things are right now, you guys pretty much already have a spot in those playoffs. It depends where it's going to be seating wise, but in terms of kind of who you guys have either gone against or want to have a rematch against or are hoping to face for the first time, what's the thing you're really hoping to see at some point in those playoffs?
What do you mean?
Is there a team you're looking forward to facing?
As far as I know, there isn't really a team we really want to face off against. We just overall want to have strong opponents that will help us grow as a team and whole. But I don't, as far as I know, I don't think there's like any rivals or whatsoever.
I mean, maybe nope. It's completely fair mindset. I will say you guys do have big ballers next week, which very importantly, that team went undefeated throughout their first stage, just like you guys. So if you guys are looking for a tough match, one that's really gonna test your limitations, I think 100% that's a match that's gonna be able to do so. But I will say that's for an entirely different week and an entirely different stage. But with that in mind, obviously, again, congratulations on today. If there's anybody that you want to kind of take an opportunity to thank, or somebody or something you want to shout out, I mean, this is a excellent opportunity to be able to do so.
I mean, just it had to be said, GG's to the enemies. Really great game from both sides here today. I want to also especially thank my friend Gilbert. He's a big part of this team and basically a mental pillar in our team that kind of helps us to stay positive. And besides that, my team, you all played great today. Looking forward to the match you mentioned just now, and hopefully we'll be able to perform just as good and even better.
Okay, it's exactly what we love to hear. But obviously more time for me and OC here. Again, congratulations on a big 3-0 win to start out your stage. It's getting late over there, I assume, getting towards there. So take the opportunity to go celebrate with the team, get something to eat, and relax for the night.
All right, thank you very much, and goodbye.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.
Well, I mean, so you love to see it. You love to see it right there. Kind of like a bit of a humbleness, to be honest. I sometimes give opportunity for players or teams to do a little bit of trash talk, and there was there was none of that there.
Yeah. I mean, pretty chill, pretty awesome. Played a lot of cast there, Venture at the end as well. And, I mean, it was a pretty consistent performance throughout the whole series.
I mean, it 100% was, and going to see if they can keep it going. Maybe we'll bring that match TEC and Big Ballers next week. That's something we're going to have to see based on scheduling. But we do know our scheduling for tonight, OC, because obviously we're done with our match here in the EU region. But we have that match later on today, 8 p.m. EST, between Mizuki Esports and Mental Institution. Should be a good game in its own right here for both these teams to kind of bounce back and get into the second stage with a fresh start and hopefully a good win for one of these teams here. And that's all you can really hope for starting out with the second stage, is coming in, having a good performance, getting in some level of momentum here, because unfortunately the last thing you want to do is start out your second stage with a 3-0, because it's okay in the first stage, you have a rough start, you can bounce back. This is now a point where, okay, we need to already be bouncing back. That's kind of the situation for a lot of these teams right now.
Yeah, Saints Girliepop, I mean, I think they need to sit down and think about compositions. They need to think about how they actually want to take certain matchups and how they're going to respond to different variations of the Orisa compositions as well. Like the BAP Juno is something where it's greedy, but there are ways you can take advantage of that. And there are ways you can play to take advantage of that. So they need to think about how they're going to approach situations like that in the future.
Yep, something they definitely have to take into consideration. But there are still 3 weeks left of regular season competition for both these teams, so opportunities for them to still take some wins and get themselves into a better positioning. But in terms of today, OC, again, thank you very much for bringing us here today. I don't know if it's the first time I've casted with you, but if it hasn't, it's been a very, very long time since then. So it's been a good opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's been great working with you too.
Yeah. But obviously, gotta thank the people backstage. We did have a little bit of help going on in the back line. Hippie always doing a great job on the producing, Orange observing as well. I see Echo sitting in the prod, and I don't know whether or not to thank them. I'm going to not thank them as I am being told, but they get a participation award. That's what you get, Echo. That's your little award right there. But either way, thank you all for joining us here this afternoon, evening, wherever you might be in the world. Make sure you come around later for that NA game, 8 p.m. EST, where there's going to be a lot more CGL action to come. And again, thank you very much, and have yourselves a good evening.
Have a good evening.